Many thanks for staying with us here on News Desk to some more stories now. And President John Dramani Mahama has appointed Dr. Abdul Nasir Issahaku as the governor of the Bank of Ghana. His appointment follows a decision by Dr. Kofi Wampa to take an early retirement 4 months before the end of his term on August 5, 2016. Until his appointment, Mr. Issahaku was the second deputy at the central bank, and well, he has his credentials are quite extensive, and we'll be bringing a lot more on that. But there's been a lot of talk about the president's latest appointment to the central bank, and the many discussions that have come up following that particular announcement. But George, a few of our business desk is joining me in studio to help us understand quite a number of things that have come up so far. But maybe, George, you can start off first and foremost with, for the many people on the outside who might not know a lot more about the new central bank governor. Maybe we could start off with who he is and maybe his credentials.
I think that there is still little information in terms of his official CV or what he's saying as in his CV. So this would just be on what we've been able to pick up from persons close to him. He holds a doctorate, of course. He has a master's in economics, a doctorate in political science. He's worked with the African Development Bank. He's also worked with the World Bank as well, the export EDIVE. He was the chief executive, and then he moved on to the Bank of Ghana over the past 2 years, working as the deputy governor of the Bank of Ghana. We are yet to get an official CV sanctioned by him as in what he's done, the sting that he's had in several organizations before moving to the Bank of Ghana. A very calm person, a very firm person. There have been times when I've engaged him and he's held a different view with respect to how certain things have been done in managing the economy. So he comes across as somebody who's very, very firm, and in terms of what he believes can be done to stabilize the Ghana cedi and even help manage the economy very, very well.
Let's take a look at the reaction, particularly in the business circles, amongst the many business industry, following the appointment or this announcement. Really, what has been?
I think that for the business community is about more of let's wait and see. Let's see what he's going to bring on board, because there are some people who think that his party coloring could affect his judgment. But more people very optimistic, hoping that looking at what he's done over the past 2 years, he could translate that. Because don't forget, being a deputy governor, either one or two, you could be anytime called upon to act as a governor, take decisions. So in terms of a governor in waiting or a governor, he was doing certain things that made him a governor or performed as a governor. So this might be nothing new. But for a lot of these banking people, it's like, okay, what can you do in terms of the expenditure during an election year, in terms of being firm as a governor? What additional things are you going to do to help stabilize the Ghana cedi? And those are the expectations, and more people saying that let's wait and see what he's going to do, whether he can do anything to turn things around for us.
Okay, so let's speak. It's interesting you bring this thing up, his political alienation or his political coloring. Really, why so much noise about that?
Well, I think it's a concern that because of a governor has to be very, very tough in terms of taking those critical decisions when it matters about managing the economy. So if we see the person as a very neutral person, then it means that he will appeal to a lot of people. People will not read meanings into whatever decision that he might take, because don't forget, in the finance world, perceptions and then confidence issues matter a lot. So if today the governor decides that, okay, I'm going to bail out those who have been affected by the DKM issue, are we going to read meanings that because the party in government wanted that thing to happen, that is why he's towing that line, of course, in sense of certain appointments, certain key institutions? Is he going to do that in relation to hidden to the pressure from the government of the day? So it matters a lot. Don't forget, you have several political actors, and therefore he should be seen. Don't forget, well, every governor might have his political connections.
Exactly.
But how does that connection influence your judgment in certain critical things that you take? Are you going to hit the pressure of the government of the day to print what we say more Ghana cedis? Today I was having a discussion with someone, and his argument was that, George, you argued that because of the IMF program, there's little this governor can do. But don't forget that there is no legal binding on this IMF program. Tomorrow, can government say that we are getting out of the IMF program, and therefore the governor can go ahead and print more Ghana cedis. So your affiliation matters a lot here, because you might be seen but you don't want to be heard, or be heard and not be seen. And that's where it's very critical why people are raising issues right now about where he's coming from in terms of his political coloring.
Finally, before you go, you brought this up already. You have mentioned a bit about it, but I just felt we should just go back to it a bit. This year being an election year, obviously we do know the kind of overruns we have in election years. From the little you know about this new governor, do you think, or maybe I should just find out from you what you've gathered on the ground, whether or not people are optimistic that he can't stand this particular test of usually overspending in an election?
And it's very critical, because every economist, if you've been monitoring the Ghanaian economy, you'll tell yourself that one of our major problems that we are facing right now was the overruns in 2012.
Yeah.
So having a central bank governor that is very, very firm is critical in terms of trying to fast track that economic stability that we're all looking forward to. Can he say no? Well, we live to see, because if you've been able to engage him personally, he comes across as a very, very firm person. Having a tenure that is protected by the Constitution, can he take certain tough actions? It's about waiting to see whether that can happen or not. But it's difficult to say now that he can pass the test. Let's wait and see his first 100 days in office and see the actions that he's going to take. And that one, we can form a firm position that indeed Dr. Issahaku is very, very firm, and he will really be an independent person as a governor of the central bank.
Right. George, many thanks for your time on News Desk this morning. And that was George Yafe of our business desk telling us a lot more about the new governor of the central bank. And he's been telling us quite a number of the concerns that have been raised following the announcement. We've been trying to get in touch with one of the MPP's member of parliament, and indeed he is with the finance department. I'm speaking of Dr. Marcos SP, but we've been unsuccessful so far. Probably in subsequent bulletins we'll try and bring that particular discussion to you, extend it a bit more, and then we can have him on. But let's turn our attention to education now. And Professor Albert Joseph Kwam, the author of the Natural Science for Primary Schools Activity-Based Pupils Book 1, which illustrated the human head as a part of the body used for carrying load, has defended its publication. Now, according to Professor Kwam, the research on which the illustration was based was a fair representation of real situation on the ground. Now, speaking on the Super Morning Show earlier today, Professor Kwam told Kojo Yangson he is no mean person in terms of his academic qualifications, regardless of what the public may perceive of him, following the outcry generated by Kofi Bento's social media condemnation about the publication.
For me, if you take Ghana as a whole, right, we have the rural setting is of larger population than that of the cities, right?
So in the rural areas they do it. But
a lot.
That's not what your head was made for. The beach was not made for defecating, but they do it there. Would you put that in a textbook, that the function of the beach is to defecate?
No.
Okay, let's take some calls.
But here we are talking about activity-based learning. Carrying load is an activity. In science, you need to have a large sample area before you can arrive at the answer.
If we had gone to the villages, what would we have heard?
You will get more of people telling you that the head is used to carry load.
But we even got some in the city. So the fact that children will say that is not disputed.
And remember,
does that make it right?
There are muscles here that support the neck.
Where? In your neck?
Yes, that support the neck for that activity. No, the neck, the head.
You are pointing to your head.
No,
you're saying neck.
No, the head. Muscles in the neck that support the head for that activity.
Which activity?
I'm talking about carrying load. So
are the muscles in your neck not supposed to carry your head? Does that mean your head is then also supposed to carry something else?
The head.
Your head is heavy. It's about 20% of the weight of your body.
Yes.
So if you have muscles in your neck, it's for carrying your head.
Yes.
Does that mean your head is also meant for carrying
yeah, exactly.
That's what you put in the textbook.
Yeah. But again, probably maybe from the callers maybe I'm a quack person. I have a BSc in biological sciences, Masters of Philosophy in biological sciences, and PGCE in education. So it's not just...
PGC is the UK.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And very soon I'll finish my PhD from KN University.
He's a big man there. He's been telling us a lot more about his credentials. He says very soon he'll be done with his PhD. But he have expressed disappointment at the manner in which Vice President of Imani Ghana, Mr. Kofi Bento, condemned his book on social media without first drawing his attention.
I would say that the way Kofi Bento spoke, I'm very sad about it. Because if you feel you have a point, he could have called me, not put it in social media, just to destroy my reputation. Again, the point he is making, if Ghana Education Service, or for that matter, Ministry of Education, feel that at that time they didn't need that, they should have told me to change it. But yet, because it's one of the functions of the head, they allowed me to use it for 5 years now. So why now? But anyway, I'll thank everyone. I will thank all the listeners for the audience giving me, especially Joy FM. And I hope for Ministry of Education, I'll have time to have a conversation with them so that we see the way forward for our future children.
So that's Professor Albert Kwam thanking viewers and listeners over there. And apparently he still says he should soon be getting his PhD. He's a big man, like I said earlier. But we're taking a break here on Newsdesk. When we come back, we'll bring you some business. Stay with us.